Oh, sorry. Well, that's at the back end of it. The charades, trust falls. We'll do the whole thing at the end. Okay. Thank you, Vince. Eric Wynalek. My topic today is make marketing make you money, which should be interesting to salespeople, I would hope. So a little bit about me. I moved here about 2 years ago from Massachusetts, but I'm from Michigan originally. So go Tigers. This is our decade. Every decade we visit the playoffs and then we just go away again. So I have 15 years in marketing, sales, business development strategy. So the good thing is I have been a quota carrying rep. I understand the pressure of being a salesperson. I try to apply that to what I do. I was recently executive vice president of marketing strategy at a company called EditShare based out of Chicago. It was a global technology company that sold both SaaS and hardware, mostly in the entertainment space. Left there in July, just burned out. Kind of started my own little shingle here, Edgework. So go-to-market consulting, mostly for small SaaS companies. In case you know anybody, I started last week. So just getting going here. I've mostly worked in sports and entertainment and video, but I've worked in other industries in the past. This is my family. This is the obligatory family photo here. It's my wife, Lindsay, and my son, James, and my daughter, Olivia. And this is Ozzy, 14th birthday last week. Big deal. And that's me playing old man hockey on the street. So when I'm not working or hanging out with my crew, I'm trying to stay alive on the hockey rink. Okay, so the agenda. So is it not sharing? Oh, all right. Well, here I am yammering. I'm not even sharing the screen. Oh, yeah, no kidding. How about that? Thank you, Vince.
Yep. That's my job.
Okay. Is it working now? On your stuff? Okay. Great. So we're going to talk about today. Tough year for a lot of people. I don't know if everybody here has had a tough year, but obviously, especially in the SaaS business, it's been very hard. It's more expensive to get leads in, more expensive to get customers. It takes longer to close them. Annual planning. I'm going to spend a lot of time on annual planning just because that's where we are in the fiscal year. For most people, we're in annual fiscal. And my experience has been the planning collaboration between sales and marketing usually sucks. And I kind of want to fix that and make sure that the people who have quotas understand exactly why the marketing people are doing what they're doing and vice versa. So I'll spend some time on that. Info sharing. This is me being the evil marketing guy and saying I don't get enough of it. So talk a little bit about how we might be able to improve that. Pipeline handshake number. This kind of goes back to the annual planning component. Collaborating and outbounding. This is the therapy portion for me, so you're going to hear me cry a little bit. Technology. This is a very small part, but we overbought tech. I'm sure you've been a part of teams that have overbought technology. You don't need a lot of it, so we'll talk a little bit about that too. And then whatever else we come up with at the end. Okay, so this is a graph from a guy named David Spitz. He's awesome. He does a lot of great benchmarking. And this kind of highlights the massive increase. He has this ratio, go-to-market efficiency ratio, which is basically the percentage of sales and marketing over net new ARR. So new sales and marketing expenditure over net new ARR. So new logo bookings expansion, churn reduction. And this is bad. Bigger is bad. And so I'm sure everyone is experiencing this. And I know that my company saw a ton of this stuff. We ramped up in late 2022, massive sales team. We had a very fun private equity team to work with who would wait until April to give us our budget. So we finally get our budget. We finally got our sales team. And then in the entertainment space, we had strikes. We had M&A and failed M&A. We had production halts and all kinds of fun stuff. So we saw a lot of this. And even without those things, I'm sure a lot of you guys are seeing just it takes so much more to get a dollar than it used to. Yeah, let me see if I can find my way over there. I don't know where my cursor is. Oh, here you go. How do we get rid of that? There. We'll do that. I'm afraid to exit out. I don't know what the hell happened.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sure you guys have all seen this. This is the group collaboration component, or you'll just hear me talk to myself. Do you see this as an industry thing in your guys' companies? Do you see it as kind of a failure between sales and marketing teams to see the spike in how much it costs to get a new dollar? Do you not see this? I would love to talk to those people. Sure.
I think we finally started collaboration more than we did just because sales people didn't date that were in there. Stuff that we always hear about.
Right.
Like confidence roles, conversations. So I think sales marketing is starting to get along a little bit more. When it gets to lead gen, I think is where we all get a little frustrated. Like, who's
Sure.
what we talk about, good ideas. So that's kind of an exciting time.
Right. Do you think some of that's probably forced just because, like, look, there's layoffs, you have to get together in the boat. There's no more like zero interest rate pull forward of everything. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
One more.
Sure.
I would say it has dependencies on the size of the business.
Yeah.
So generally, what I've seen is, lower middle market companies, smaller businesses, it could be SaaS. Typically where we all play.
Right.
Tech. But normally, as go-to-market stands up, the salespeople are the first people to be hired.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
So they're going to have to become their own marketers.
Right.
So it depends there. And then, as you grow up, really where I've seen the collaboration break down, it really kind of comes down to the leadership and then assigning accountabilities and then communicating that.
You're teeing me up really well here. Thank you for that. One beer to you.
That's fine.
Did you get the slide before?
Yeah, right. We did. We did the plans actually. Sorry, what were you gonna say? Oh, okay. It'll come back. It'll come back to you. Yeah, right. I forgot. I don't know. How many people is there anybody in marketing here? Okay. For some friendlies, okay, ish. Are all you guys in software? No? Okay. Any companies smaller than 50 million in revenue?
Yeah.
Most of you. Good. That's a good thing. For everything I am basing my stuff off of is my pre-merger company, which is a $15 million ARR private equity backed company. So if you are anywhere in that range, a lot of this might sound familiar. If it's not, the templates still work. It's just that's what I'm basing my experience off of. Okay. So annual planning. Again, I've seen very bad planning. I've seen some good planning. And ultimately, this is where this is just a simple like yes or no. And then I'm going to pop out of the presentation and go through some templates. And the salespeople will allow us to be like, yeah, I know this. The market people might think it's interesting. And then we'll flip the other way where I'm going to try to reverse everything back out into a funnel based on a salesperson's quota. Do the sales and marketing teams at like an operator level, you mentioned leadership breakdown, but even at just like people on teams, do they participate in planning sessions together? Do you see that? Is it kind of like, not really?
Not in my experience.
Okay. Okay. Has anybody experienced good collaboration between like a demand generation manager and an AE? Excellent. Great. Well, this is kind of a riff on that. So you're going to see me steal a ton of different templates throughout this. I don't believe in making my own templates. It's a waste of time. The internet has plenty of them. I try to take them and tweak them and make them my own. So this is a consultant. Her name, actually, her name, I'm blanking on it, much like you just blanked. So hopefully I'll come back up with it later. But she's great. And she's a consultancy for small and medium SaaS companies, similar to what I'm trying to stand up. Which is a great marketing template for a marketing plan for a marketing team. The reason I have this highlighted is because I think a lot of times marketing teams will just start making up what they think the funnel should be without knowing exactly what the board bookings plan will be or what the quotas will be. And that is where the meat of this is where I think things kind of fall apart. So the annual planning, it needs to be a demand generation manager and an AE. And I had a really good growth marketing guy in my last company who would sit down with the AEs and he would talk, they would offer their quotas to them. And he would base all of his campaigns and planning off of that to make sure that it wasn't just the booking number that the board is looking at is X and we need to get to that, making sure that the AEs knew how the campaigns would filter back to their quotas, which is great and they appreciate it and I think should be common practice. Looking backwards, I think sometimes people just start their planning, hey, the booking number for next year is X, and they don't take time to look back at the last 3 fiscal year performance, why things didn't work, why we didn't hit our quotas. Industry headwinds, again, like the industry I was in collapsed upon itself, and so our board didn't really understand that, and we had to try to make them understand that when they're coming up with realistic growth goals. And a bottoms up build. Again, this is something everybody should do. And I'd say like 50% of the time I've seen it happen. Actually going through and building, how are you going to get your quota, going back to leads and looking at conversion rates. Okay, so this is where I pop out of this. I need to pull this down. Oh, look at that. It drops down. I forgot about that. Okay, so here we are. This is our board bookings target. Okay, this is not. What's that? Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're not sure.
I'm going to do that again. So can you remind? Thank you. Yeah. Actually, last time I was here, somebody was doing this, and I reminded that guy to do that, and then I forgot to do it myself. Yeah. Okay, so here is our board bookings targets. The board is expecting to see 3.1 million in bookings. It's enterprise heavy for next year, 2.2 million, and then 900,000 of it will come from the mid-market / SMB team. Great. There's one. I'm going to have to. Oh no, sorry. I'm going to use these tabs down here now. There is one AE that is dedicated to the mid-market. Where did my cursor go? And that is who we're focused on, this gentleman or lady who is that person responsible for 900K. Okay. Great. So now we are looking at this person. Okay, great. Bookings target for that is 900K. My evil CFO has added an 11% pad on top of that to make my quota a clean 1 million. Sweet. Thanks, CFO. We sell an average $25,000 ACV. So simple math dictates I need 40 deals. My OT multiplier is 5 times OTE. So my OT is 200K. I'm not assuming accelerators or spiffs or any of that kind of fun stuff in here. So I need 4 times pipeline coverage. It used to be 3. We all know that's bullshit. You need 4. So we have 4 million in pipeline that we need. I have a stretch number here for myself. Is that AE? I want to get up to 1.12 million and shoot 113% of my quota. But that's not, everything I go from here is not assuming the stretch goal. We're just looking at the quota. So I broke this out by month. You can see it all adds up to 1 million. I have column F down, or sorry, column E down at the bottom has the current pipeline. You can see it kind of back out into a ratio. So for January, I'm looking good. I've got work to do after February. It rolls into a quarterly total. So great. I feel decent. Right now, I have a decent plan. But again, this is just very high level stuff. I want to start looking at deals. And it doesn't need to be exactly 1-to-1. Like, we don't need to have it exactly be 40 deals here because of the ACV bands I chose over there for the deals I need to close. It just needs to be roughly similar. So I said I needed 40 deals in that previous tab. I have 38 here. Close enough, right? And this gets me to 1 million. Close enough. This helps you start to look at, okay, this is the pipeline I'm going to need by quarter. So I need 800K in the first quarter. I need 980 in the second quarter. Same thing with that third quarter, and then 1.3 in the fourth quarter, which is my biggest one. All right, we tracking here? Any issues with anything I've shown so far?
What's the average sales cycle here for you?
So for us, it was roughly between 30 to 60 days. That obviously went completely nuts after that because of all the stuff I mentioned before. But we would roughly be able to close stuff 30 to 60 days. And leads would move through the funnel anywhere from 30 to 45 days. This is when things were really good, which they really weren't earlier this year.
Do you account for seasonality of the previous year pipeline coming in there?
So we're going to get to that. Yes. So essentially what I built in later is a 60-day pipeline lag. So yeah, well, I think you're supposed to be a friendly. What happened? Yeah.
So 4 million to 1 million.
Right. Yep. Yeah. So over here on the cell, and I can't see the rows, but
I would just question. You're coaching if you're like the marketer, you're working with a rep.
Yeah.
You let them determine that.
Well, I mean, this would ultimately probably come from the CMO. I'm just using C level. So CMO and the CRO getting together and saying, hey, we agree that we're going to need this much pipe. Go back to that previous 3 fiscal years. So our close rate, I'm going to make numbers up, in 2021 was 33%, and then it was 30%, and last year was 20%. Okay. And so what should our close rate be? Let's say it's 25%, then I need 4x coverage. I need $4 to get my dollar.
Yeah, I'm not trying to throw you off.
No, it's
that challenge. Like, well, is our close rate really this?
Yeah.
I've been that.
totally.
CMO type or whatever.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
whatever I hear, or even if it's in Salesforce, I'm going to knock 5% off of it. And so that I know I need to get more coverage than less. If they say it's 30%, I'm going to assume it's 25. Okay, which tab am I on? Great. All right, so this is where things get fun. So what I've done here is I've said at the first tab, which I'm not going to go back to, but I said my quota was $1 million. And the first tab, which was the board booking number, said that 80% of that pipe would come from marketing. So 20% is going to come from outbounding or meeting people at events, or something falls off the truck and someone wants to hand me money. The rest of it is going to be marketing, doing marketing stuff to create pipeline, right? So what I've done here is I've backed out a funnel. And this is, again, I like to steal stuff. This is stolen from Revenue Architecture by Winning by Design. It's an awesome course. It's $2,500. So I don't know if you have $2,500 laying around. I certainly didn't. I got it through Pavilion, but a lot of it is, I say like 50% of it is really valuable, 30% of it is kind of valuable, and 20% of it is way too theoretical to be practical. This is the actual helpful stuff, which is, okay, great. So I'm gonna need 800K, and this is not pipe, this is bookings. So I'm gonna say, here we go. I have 800K coming from marketing. How am I getting to that number? So I'm saying my list price, my ACV is 25K. There's no discounting in this model. So again, you have to play with it because Lord knows there's going to be discounting. So I need 32 wins from marketing. Going back again, I think I needed 40. So that checks out. It's 80% of the 40. My win rate is 25%. Now my conversion of SQLs to ops is 60%. So I'm going to need 128 ops. I need 214 sales qualified leads. My conversion from MQL to SQL is low. Right now it's 22.5%. So I'm going to need 950 MQLs, which backs me into a visitor level number. So you can take it to your demand generation person or your growth person and say, hey, like, I think this is how much traffic I'm going to need. Now, it's not all going to come in through web traffic, right? I'm using this as a proxy for top of funnel. You're going to get leads from LinkedIn. You're going to get leads from a bunch of other places, but I need a proxy to base it off of, and that's what this is. So this allows you to go to between your marketing and salespeople and really start to build your campaigns off of this and allow you to understand how that top of the funnel will convert all the way down to you being able to achieve quota. How do we feel about this? Great?
It's one of the best trainings I've been in a long time. To be honest with you, like nobody talks about like the details like this.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I think the one question I have is just from like you've got your demand gen person that's helping this, mid-market AE. Mid-market AE in this scenario is probably making 190 to 240K. Demand gen person not.
Yeah.
We're starting to see a lot of like frustration there in the delta between that AE and that demand gen person. So just curious how you handle that. You got a 110 demand gen person and a 260 AE doing half the amount of work.
Yeah.
Just curious.
Well, my general feeling is that now it's going to be a percentage of the overall booking target, but my general feeling is that the marketing team is responsible for pipeline. Because even if it's not like campaigns, you're still doing sales enablement. You're still doing brand. It's all stuff that is going to bring people in. And so I think the comp plans for the marketing people should be tied to that. They should be tied to the performance. Not necessarily the quotas, but if the board plan is 3.1 million, then there should be, whether it's an escalator or whether it's your actual bonus should be tied to that.
The marketing put 32 good opportunities in front of that person. That's their job.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah. Your job is to create opportunities. It's not to create white papers. It's not to, do awesome webinars or make the world's best business card. Like you have to create, you have to generate revenue. That is the whole goal. Okay, so I think this is where I pop back out of this and I go back in slides. I'm going to remember to share the right tab. I've learned from my mistakes. Or have I? Yes. Okay. So sharing info. This is where I buttered you guys up now. Now I'm going to be the evil marketing guy again. So there's a couple of different customer journeys that I like visualizations of it. One of them, this is the Winning by Design one. The other one I have is from Gartner. This does a good job calling out the personas and where they come in. At each one of these conversations, your marketing people can learn from this stuff. It used to be pulling teeth for me to get it. I get it. You don't want to invite the demand generation guy on a customer call. It's distracting. That person is trying to book business so they can make money. They're not trying to teach their marketing guy how to write copy. Like, I get it. But there's a million ways that you can do this, whether it's through, well, we'll get to how you can do it. But each one of these chances is like sales enablement. Forget about anything else. You got to get by a gatekeeper. What happened last time you talked to one? You got to teach them. The first conversation you have, with this initiator, with a champion. Why are they going to become the champion? Why did the last great deal that you had that you want to replicate? What did that person say? What else were they considering? Why do they choose to work with you or not work with you? This is all stuff that, the marketing people are they're trying to create a pipeline number. They're trying to create leads. They're trying to come up with an ebook or whatever. If they don't get those inputs, it's going to be the same old stuff. And I'm sure you've all seen the same boring thing, the regurgitated thing. It's monkey see, monkey do. Ultimately, like, the marketing team should be just trying to provide value back to whoever that customer is and teach them how to solve their problems. It's as simple as that. But if they don't know what the problems are, they can't do that. So each one of these checkpoints is a good opportunity to share something back. It doesn't need to be a super pretty template. It could just be a Slack message. Hey, I was on the phone with, I'll use an example. We had this product called screeners.com, and it was used for providing screeners to critics. So we would work with the PR team. It was very much like a jocks versus nerds kind of situation. PR team is the jocks, and the content security team is the nerds, right? And the nerds are afraid of everything getting stolen and shared everywhere. The PR team doesn't give a shit about that. They just need to get as much coverage as they can so people will watch the new season of Succession. So every time we would talk to one of those content security people, hey, there's a new threat from this torrent, or the people are pirating and sharing stuff at this place. That's really good for us to know, because we create content around how to avoid getting your content on this torrent, or it's being stolen in this way. And that would all come from those conversations with the people who would ultimately be gatekeepers in that deal. This one I like even better, which just goes to show you, people like to look like a linear funnel where it's like, hey, there's a visitor like I just showed, and then there's a marketing qualified lead, and they're all skipping through daisies, and they end up as an opportunity, and it never happens that way at all. There's this nonstop rigmarole, right? Budget cut, legal flag, and then you go back. It's like Chutes and Ladders, You constantly end up getting kicked back. But throughout this entire thing, these are all opportunities to share stuff back. Hey, the legal flag was X. I need a piece of content for that blocker because the last 3 times I tried to go through a legal process or going through procurement, they kicked it back for these reasons. Good stuff for your humble shapes, colors, and fonts team to know. Gartner. Sorry, I lost steam on the providing credit. I didn't make this. Gartner did.
I knew it.
Thank you. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen this before. It's an oldie but a goodie. Right. All right. So anywhere in here, is there anywhere that deals are getting stuck or unstuck that, other than my rambling, that you think that your marketing crew could help you out better with?
I think the one thing that's, we were talking about here, so employee generate how to track and trace it. I think it becomes a really big problem. It's a great problem.
Yeah.
It's in 7,600, 7,000 clicks. Right?
Yeah.
But it's a kind of a game goal between, like, all right, how are we trusting our employees' own brands and content while aligning with ours? So I think that's like, where's the attribution go is where I'm getting at.
Yeah. Attribution is impossible. It really is. And the best form of attribution we've ever had is just having a box at the end of the form that says, where did you hear about us? I'm supplementing that with initial call by an SDR and AE. Make sure the first thing you ask, where did you hear about us? Because if you're in first touch or last touch, I mean, where the people actually hear of you and what had the most influence, I don't know. I've had no luck with W-shaped or first touch or last touch or whatever, even attribute. It never works for me. It's always ask it on the form. If they don't fill it out on the form, don't make it mandatory on the form. It's got to come from call notes or whatever. And that's a good thing where if you got something like Eric Call and you're getting, or just a transcript from an AI chatbot or whatever, be able to get those transcripts back. If everyone's trained on, this goes back to, first, second, third line leaders about, hey, the first question has to be, where did you hear about us? It teaches you so much, and it gets rid of you trying to rely on whatever funky attribution model you're getting. Sure. Circle the desks.
On that, I would say, especially if you have like a significant brand and you sort of want to show the conversation you're having, if you're sharing links and content, like stuff like that, to your site, then you should be putting
Your own person.
no UTM parameters and add in, talk to the marketing team and be like, hey, I'd love to you guys to see what is, what message is bringing in the most. And so can we throw on, make sure you get their UTM
Yeah, that's
back
huge.
because they have their own sort of playoff, but that'll give you that.
Yeah, our whole, my last company, everybody had their own UTM, which was nice because we could go back at the end of the year and say,
Right.
Did this, because like, if I closed 900K, but my UTM got 9 other reps to 450.
Right.
It's job security.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
not gonna be the end all be all. Don't say that just because that's where, the UTM is on there. If your tracking isn't set up, if operations isn't set the right way,
Oh, yeah.
it's a whole mess, but it at least shows some of that value of what's working, what's not working.
So helpful.
Right.
So
So that's a good point, because a lot of times I feel like what happens is something's not set up that's signaling wrong information.
Yeah.
To marketing. I'll give you an example. Like I worked for a software company, and if a deal was closed lost, you had to pick a competitor. You lost to, of course, you didn't always lose to,
Sure. You lose no decision.
right? And what I was trained when I arrived, they were like, yeah, just pick Sneak, because we really want to go after, like, we're losing a lot of business. We're trying not marketing to go after that. I'm like, what?
That seems like a great idea.
This is how we're going.
We don't work
Yeah.
there anymore. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you could ask, one of the things in enterprise sales anyway, persona marketing,
hmm
it's done, I think, fairly well for most companies at the top of the funnel or entering the funnel. But do you think as a marketer that we shouldn't continue that process through funnel? Meaning, I find a lot of deals get stuck because we focus on the champion or
Sure.
our key contacts, and we forget about IT that could really kill it.
Yeah.
And are we still doing things in addition to sales people to reinforce our brand, our marketing, our value proposition?
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that's where, going back to this, I found that I get a lot of engagement in these calls up front. I get a lot of notes shared. Hey, you want to join this call silently? Great. But understandably so, once you're getting closer to closing it, you don't want to be distracted. You want to book the business, right? As a salesperson, you don't want to go back and you don't want to invite those people to call. You're less focused on sharing the information. You're more focused on booking the business. And that's where I think this is great. Again, I like to seal things. This is the CRO of Hockey Stack. It's an attribution tool. It's a really good one. It's really expensive too. No, I'm kidding. After they close the deal, he's saying he reached out to every one of them and he asked them 5 questions. What prompted them to reach out to us? What were the top 3 alternatives? Why did they choose Hockey Stack? What the negative feedback was, and any objections from the C-suite. That goes back to what you're talking about, Vince. Getting any objections, potential blockers or influencers for the back end of a deal cycle. And then they use those data points in our messaging content website. I promise you, I found this after I created the slide and I was so happy. I didn't steal everything from it. But it was great because it's so smart and it's so simple, right? And I think if a CRO wants to do that, they're more likely to have that customer pick up the phone. Totally cognizant of that, right? The CRO wants to make sure the deal went well. They want to make sure we're being onboarded. They want to make sure they have a good initial experience. But you need that person to be willing to share their call notes. And I think that's where getting that information, this is the slide that I created. Where did you hear about us? What issue we're trying to solve? Who's in the buying committee? Why did or didn't you choose us? What else are you considering? Including nothing. This goes back to your sales force. Sorry, I didn't get your name. Focus or forcing you to put a competitor instead of no decision. Getting all that stuff back weekly is ideal because it creates all this better stuff. And this is the top thing, is just the notes and the transcripts. How many of you guys are not recording your calls as salespeople at this point? I think most people are, right? So if you only get those call notes reasonably, not all of them, and get the transcripts of those is really helpful. And you can feed that stuff into Claude or into ChatGPT and get what you need out of it. There's no more like me trying to sit down through a 60-minute sales call and find something interesting. And it leads, it's not just better demand gen, right? You get the better personas like you were talking about, Vince, better sales enablement, comp intel. You can even pull some paid search keywords out of there and run through something like SEMrush. And even like PR and analyst relations. I mean, you could hear a lot of stuff coming from customers that you can take to an analyst and pitch in order to get better coverage. So it's not just creating a better white paper. There's a lot of great benefits to it. So this is, I won't pop in and out of this. Actually, I might as well be able to do it quickly. And I will, again, I've learned from my mistakes. I'll share this tab. So this is a quick customer interview template. This was before people were really using stuff like ChatGPT. So now what I would do is I would feed it the questions. I have it auto-populate the stuff I'd want in there. But this is a customer that we had. This is the production company that did Drive to Survive. For any of you F1 fans on Netflix, they would use our product to do collaboration during production. And you get the top takeaways. And we would share this around every week between the marketing and sales team and say, hey, we talked to Box to Box this week. This is what we learned from the call. This is what we're going to start to create out of it. And just doing it asynchronously. Remote work, everything's a meeting. Please no more meetings, right? So be able to do all this stuff asynchronously. If you don't do, I won't ask questions because we got more to get through. But if you don't have like a wiki like Confluence or something like that, I hope that you get it because it's made my life so much easier in the past. Just having one place for annual planning, put in the call notes, searchable, everybody has a space. Makes it a lot easier to share this stuff. Okay. Okay, pipeline. Handshake metric, right? Here's poor pipeline. Being neglected while the sales and marketing team yell at each other. We can only just pay attention to poor pipeline. Again, this is a quick yes or no, because I know we only have 25 minutes left. Does everyone think that their sales and marketing teams understand what percentage of pipeline the marketing team should create?
Yes.
No.
Okay. No? That's another thing, building into that model, that is really helpful because it becomes a complete guessing game. And again, like I've made this mistake before where it's like, we're just going to do our best. We're going to get to that number together, aren't we? And that doesn't work. So understanding how much of the salespeople are actually generating on their own versus how much the marketing team should be generating on their own. It's never going to end up clean numbers, but at least give you something to work off of. Because again, you got to do that bottoms up build from rep level and from department level. You got to build all the way from where you're going to start to what the bookings number is. And if I'm a rep, I want to build my own quota level bottoms up build, both what I need to do on outbounding on my own and what the marketing team is going to do for me. So, you agree on the number. You understand the pipe gen lag. You asked about that earlier. How long from when I get a lead in is it going to turn into pipe? And then make sure you're breaking it out by month. So what this ends up looking like is something like this. Again, I have a tab for that. And where's my cursor? There it is. It's very hard to see this. Here we go. So in here, what I've done is this is at quota level. This is not the board number. It looks like the board number template, but it's a different one. So I am this SMB rep. I have to book $1 million. Great. I need this much pipe to close. But remember, I needed to close this, or I need to create this pipeline 2 months earlier. So it's January and I'm trying to figure out how to create $300,000 of pipe and I have zero, I'm screwed. I need to start creating this beforehand. And this allows you, again, to back this stuff all out, to start looking at what marketing is going to create 8% of that pipe. Great. There's so many ops, SQLs, and MQLs that I'll need in that month for me, my own personal AE. This should happen, obviously, too, at a board bookings level between the marketing and sales department, not just at that rep trying to find their quota. The other thing I wanted to show was this, which is probably more pertinent to the marketing people than the salespeople, but this goes back to being able to properly plan. So if I know that my bookings target is 3.1 million, I want to know how much budget, my marketing budget, fully loaded, is going to come from that number. The number used to be like 45% of the growth target would be your marketing budget. We go back to the thing we looked at earlier. The CAC number is out of control. The sales and marketing percent of new AR is out of control. And so I have that at 60%. Great. What that marketing person then can start to do is start to figure out how much they're going to dedicate to programming, how much to people, and how much to tech. And these numbers are all made up. Don't look at the salaries, but you can start to see how that CMO is going to start to build who is responsible for what, where, how many people. Cool. All right. So I need to know my sales costs too. A lot of times you're going to see the sales and marketing or the sales percentage of that sales and marketing number be 2 to 1. It could be a little more, it could be less, but the sales budget is going to be more than the marketing budget, which gets me to my CAC ratio. So I know that my sales and marketing costs total, sorry, so I should sum this, is for 5.4 million, right? And my booking number is here. I need to have that CAC ratio really about 1 3/4, and I'm there. So it seems like my budget as a CMO is roughly correct. I'm matching up my head count and my programming to what I think I'll need to actually book the business I need to book. And then my sales and marketing percentage of the total ARR is 36%. That's pretty standard. I wish I would have had that the first 2 years. I did not. I'm making excuses for myself now. Okay. Outbounding, right? Mistakes were definitely made. So when we try to stand up ABM at the start, we overcomplicated it so badly. We were trying to go after, we tried to make a 3-tier system. We tried to have individualized landing pages for 3 different industries within that first tier. We had a full outbounding setup. We were doing it through Apollo for each of the reps, and nobody used any of it. Instead, we were just sending out targeted display to a bunch of companies who'd never heard of us in new industries, and it failed miserably. So we simplified it greatly from there. We're like, look, we're just going to go, we're not doing any personalized landing pages. We're doing sports-specific landing pages. We're going to try to tie them to keywords for sports at the outset, or keywords that we think people would push people to landing pages on sports. This is the software product that was collaboration for video production. We're going to make sure we're going to have meetings to make sure everyone is doing the outbound through Apollo. We'll do some of it ourselves. It worked a lot better because we simplified it so much. And I think the biggest problem when you try to stand up account-based marketing is just people think they need an ABM tool at the beginning, and you really don't. You can do it in HubSpot. I have a little small tech stack at the back end I can talk more about, but you can do it with minimal stuff. And not only just outbounding, but lead response protocol, lead dispositioning. Does anybody feel here they have a really good system, an SLA set between the marketing and sales team on how outbounding is happening and how people are handling leads when they get into the funnel? You guys do?
Well, not right now.
Okay. Formerly.
It's just me, but like, yeah, previously.
Yeah.
Yes. Best use I've seen.
Yeah.
In place for sure.
Yeah. And this is something that, again, we started off and we did, it was trust, and that doesn't work. So we were just, sorry.
Is this assuming that sales is not getting any list from marketing?
No. So it could be, it's less about the list and more about how they're actioning on the list, and then what happens when there's an activity based on that list. Which I'll skip this actually. This is a flow chart that my growth guy, who I'm going to steal him wherever I go next, if I go somewhere next, he put this together. Actually, let me blow this out and show you the whole document. And this is totally one of those documents that most sales reps are not going to go back to, and it's fine. They don't need to go back to it. It just needs to exist. And he documented where the scoring is, how we're handling lead attribution, roles and responsibilities. And then if you go all the way to the bottom, you can see this is the Bible, right? We start to walk through the different statuses and stages and what they meant and who is responsible for those things, what the next steps are supposed to be. And then I want to get down to that. I would just use the scroll bar if I could see it, but I can't, so I don't want to screw anything up. There we go. So we created this workflow, and this is what we really trained off of, was just walking through and making sure everyone understood what happened, when, and why, and where. Things went far more smoothly after that. I can send you, you're taking a picture, I can just send this to you. I do that all the time, and I go back and look at the picture, and it's like Zapruder film from JFK or something. So anyway, it's like set the protocol, have the Bible to reference, and make sure you understand the flow. Who's doing what, why, and when. Because if you don't, then everything else we talked about before, that doesn't really matter. God forbid it all works. What happens when you get people coming in? Technology. Let's get this after my little. So again, I'm basing this off of a VC-backed or PE-backed SaaS company that's somewhere between $10 and $15 million in annual revenue. I think you can do, assuming you have a CRM and a marketing automation platform and something on email, I think you can do most of what you need based off of this. I think you can handle your prospecting through Apollo, $99 a month, or free. You can do targeted display and see who's visiting your site, and just from a company level using something like Lead Feeder. Or B2B, you can see, and it's only in the US, but you can see who is coming to your site and automatically push it to Slack. So you can see if Eric from Edgework went to your website, push it right into Slack, and I know that I can call on that person immediately. Doesn't work with GDPR, but it works here. And then AI assistant. So this is something I put together. I'm still working on it. It's not the greatest thing ever, but I'm trying to train my robot. And essentially what I'm trying to train this on is creating a data analyst. And I'm feeding it hockey stats, SaaS benchmarks. I'm feeding it stuff from this guy, Ray Reich. I'm trying to feed as many benchmarks as possible so that when I start to say, hey, look, I need to book 3 million in bookings, and I'm telling it that most of it's going to come from mid-market, or most of it from enterprise, and some of it from SMB, mid-market. How am I going to do that? It starts to give me, hey, based on the benchmarks I'm seeing here coming from Hockey Stack and coming from all these different sources, you can focus 45% of that programming budget to LinkedIn. It has the highest MQL to opportunity conversion rate. And so you can start to figure out what your marketing mix is going to be based off of what your booking target is and what the benchmarks are. And good news is that, so I go back to Hockey Stack because Hockey Stack is a BI tool focused on SaaS. And what they did is they get all of that campaign level data in, and they anonymize it to produce quarterly reports that show what the most efficient channels are, what the conversion rates are. Just feed it into your robot, and your robot can start to give you some direction. Now, the robots aren't perfect, and this is like the highest level stuff, but you can start to figure out exactly where you can start to push and pull, what levers on what budget.
Why Claude and ChatGPT?
Because I built the Claude one first.
Yeah, so whoever you pay for.
Yeah, I'm paying both of them right now, but I haven't gotten as far down the road with ChatGPT. That's it. Questions, comments, concerns?
Did you want to go back to the tech stack or no?
Well, I guess we can just do it verbally. It's just like, those are the 4 things I have. Is there anything you feel is?
Yes, the tech stack and the lead flow chart. Has it been your experience that a good cohesive in between sales and marketing to be an operator, like a marketing operations team, rev ops team?
Yeah.
I'm curious your thoughts on at what point, if you're a $10 million ARR team, a company,
Yeah.
and then, hey, when is it time? You got all this tech coming in, got some process.
I think you should have a RevOps person at that stage. It doesn't need to be somebody who's making 200, 250K a year or whatever. But you need to have somebody who knows how to integrate. If you're using Salesforce as your CRM and then HubSpot as your automation platform, you need somebody who knows how to do both, integrate them both together. You need someone who knows how to troubleshoot. We had a sales ops guy who was a total mad scientist, most difficult guy I've ever worked with my entire life, but he was great. And so I had a marketing operations guy who was the most personable guy in the world, and I had to unfortunately send him into the slaughterhouse every day. But they figured out how to work together, and it worked really, really seamlessly. I would be so lost if I tried to do that. But we needed that person because, again, once we start to actually have some success on these campaigns, start to push things through in Salesforce, it needs to be seamless. You need to get the data immediately. It needs to be correct. It needs to be clean. There was what was the problem? There was some problem with the way that Salesforce started dealing with deal designations within HubSpot, and it completely broke all of our definitions. And if we didn't have somebody who's dedicated, we were quite literally, we went past the CSM at HubSpot. We were talking to the product manager about what happened. And if we didn't have somebody who was really savvy and be able to use both those things, we'd be screwed. We'd have no idea where to start.
Yeah, I mean, so I bring it up as far as like that was my experience as well at a couple of companies. Like kind of back to that lead flow, lead process.
Yeah.
I mean, we've probably all seen that, but if you're for the sales folks, there's got to be somebody internally as like a customer service.
Yeah.
Go to like, hey, all you have to do is this.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
The lead flow process is, to your point, it needs to exist.
Yeah. It's
somebody internally has to.
The sales people should be trying to sell. They shouldn't be looking at lead flow diagrams all day. The point is that it exists, and there is. Sorry, it's good point. There should be somebody who's dedicated to making sure that machinery works, and who can talk to the salespeople and say, "Hey, you're supposed to do X, and it's not happening. Could you just do X?" Not, Frank, did you look at the lead flow diagram? We've agreed that this is how it works. Like, they don't care. They get a quota to hit. They don't care about it at all, and they shouldn't. Yeah, right. You didn't go to the wiki?
To that
Yeah.
point, I am sales and marketing ops, so that's what I will say is, if you have someone currently in your company that is defined as sales or marketing ops, don't assume that they have ownership of it. There's a bajillion different definitions for who these people are and what they do. So if you currently do have someone with that role, I don't want you to leave here and give that sales ops person a heart attack because they're not necessarily responsible for that. Because that is not necessary.
Right. Right. It's a good point, though. Yeah, I mean, that's why try to do as much as you can with the fewest amount of tools, because otherwise you get this tech stack bloke and you got to try to integrate the things, and the integrations don't work, and then you're trying to use Zapier for it. And the Zapier stuff breaks, and then that person gets frustrated and quits, and then you're totally, you're toast. Well, this is my email. That's my little QR code thingy for LinkedIn. If you have any questions, if you want to yell at me, say I got things wrong or right, I have tough skin. I can handle it. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. Thank you. Oh, I gotta hang up. Sorry, buddy. There's nobody on here. Okay.